Hi, I'm Marty Schupak, and welcome to this T-ball practice template number 8. I'll do this probably every week now up till the season and maybe through the season. Just so you know, if this is your first time viewing this, the way it's run is I go anywhere from like 16 to like 25 minutes, and I go through a typical practice, holding up still pictures of drills, which I like to explain. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel, which is Schupak Sports. It's in association with tballamerica.com. We're going to get started right away. But before we do, I always like to start these meetings or these clinics with a trivia question. Here's a trivia question, okay? I was fortunate enough to learn baseball at the beginning from my grandfather, who was from Brooklyn, New York, and an old Brooklyn Dodger fan. So this is a question that has something to do with the Brooklyn Dodgers. There's an old-time manager, Walter Alston, who managed for years. The question is, and I'm going to give you a multiple choice, how many years did Walter Alston manage the Dodgers? Is it 15 years? Is it 18 years? Is it 23 years? Or is it 25 years? I'll give you a little bit of a hint. He managed in both Brooklyn and Los Angeles when the Dodgers moved out there. All right, let's get started with T-ball. Remember, T-ball, that keep in mind, and I've said this a number of times before, young kids, there are two types of fear. There's the fear of being embarrassed in front of their peers, and there's the fear of getting hurt. Now, in T-ball, if we could overcome these two fears, the kids have a potential to really blossom. So keep that in mind about the two fears. All right, let's get started. First thing is you want to make sure you warm up, even if it's for anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. Have them run around the infield, do jumping jacks, arm rotations. Remember, studies have shown, and not so much in T-ball, but when they get a little older, even the most basic warm-ups are a good preventive measure for injuries. With that in mind, also, we are creating lifetime habits. If these young T-ball players, when they get to be adults, play tennis, golf, or pickleball, hopefully they'll warm up and stretch before they do that. All right, first drill is what I call the over-under drill. And I'll hold it up. And what you see there is a fence. And what I usually do is to draw or not draw a line, I put a tape going across the fence. And what I like to use is blue painter's tape, which you get any home center or hardware store, okay? And I put it across the fence. The one thing you really have to establish, or you have to confirm, is your league's policy about throwing objects against the fence. You never want to throw hard balls, but I've seen leagues that don't want anything thrown against the fence. We're using soft T-balls, the type that you squeeze and they're like spongy, okay? What we're doing here is we're spreading out the players, and you, the coach, each will yell out either over or under. If you yell out over, the players have to throw the ball and they have to go over the blue tape. If you yell under, they throw the ball, go under the blue tape. I try to have as many buckets of balls as I can. And like I've mentioned before, if you're going to spend any of your own money with your team, invest in baseballs. At the T-ball level, buy the soft covered T-balls that your league allows you to use. In this particular drill, if you have the room, you could actually set up 12 stations if you have 12 players, okay? You have to spread them out. Balls will begin to fly all over the area. Keep in mind, too, if a player has a target to throw to, his head will be more steady, okay? And what that's doing is he's focusing on a target. A young 5 or 6-year-old T-ball player, it's hard enough for them to achieve success with the target. But the fact that they have something to aim to will keep their head steady, and will transition where the ball won't go flying around the area as much as it would. If you just take kids out in the field and tell them to throw a baseball, you'll see their heads are going to go all over the place. We always want to try to have a target, even though they're not going to hit it. Okay, it'll help steady the head. Okay, now what I like to do is in this drill, I actually like to rotate stations. I like to have them move, like throw 3 balls, and if you have 12 stations, you just have them move down the line and come around. If you're sharing, then that's another story. But I like to have the players rotate. I like to keep them moving. This is really a perfect drill when you're teaching players to step at the target. Okay, so that's the over-under drill. Very easy to set up. Again, make sure the policy of your league with defense coincides with the drill. You don't want to upset the head of maintenance, which I've done once or twice. You know, you want to find out before. Okay, the next drill is running through the base, and that's first base. Okay, and what we're doing here is, all we're doing is putting a cone past the base. We're lining the players up at home, and we're having them take turns running through the base to the cone. And the reason we're doing this is not just T-ball players, but even kids a little older. For whatever reason, sometimes when they run to first base, they'll think there's a wall there and they'll stop short. We want to get them in the habit of running through the base. Okay. And I'll tell you, base running, to me, I really believe it's not hitting or fielding, but I think base running is the biggest challenge in T-ball. You could teach them a lot about base running, which direction to run in, but kids that young get so excited when they hit the ball off the tee. All of a sudden, it seems like their mind is cleared of what you told them about base running, and players will run to second base before they go to first base. I've had players run to third base before they start running to first base. So don't get frustrated. It's the nature of the age. In this drill, I just want to let you know, there's going to be a temptation to add another concept, probably in base running. Don't do it. Stick to this one concept. And if you're coaching a little bit older kids after T-ball, you do this drill too. I'll give you a little bit of a hint. What I like to teach them is when they run past the base, turn to the foul territory. Okay? The actual baseball rule is, in a real game, you could turn towards second base if you don't have an intent to go to the base. All right? But I can tell you from experience, we've had some young umpires be the base umpires, and sometimes they get intimidated by coaches. And when the players turn to the field side, I'll hear the coach yell, "Tag him, he turned the wrong way." He'll tag him, and the young umpire will call him out, which is the wrong call. I see it happen once a year. All right? So what I try to do is I try to take the game. Again, this is above T-ball. This is after you coach T-ball. I try to take the game away from the umpires. So I try to teach my players, when you run past first base, and again, we're talking about running through the base, not rounding the base. Let's say the ball hit to the gap. Have turn to foul territory so there's no mistake at all. But this T-ball drill is a great drill. Don't put an additional concept in. Have them go through it a few times. And don't be upset if in a game they stop short of first base. Remember, these kids are very young. Okay, The next drill is, and what I like to do is I like to sandwich in a fun drill between a couple of skill drills. Remember, as a T-ball coach, you're kind of a combination baseball coach / phys ed teacher. So here's a game. You may or may not be familiar with it. It's called Streets and Alleys, but I put a baseball concept in that, and I call it Baseball Streets and Alleys. And what you do is you line kids up, and they're facing one direction. There are two players that will chase each other. But in one direction, it's streets. If you as a coach call alleys, they all face this way. Okay? And this is the object of the game is for one player who has a ball in the glove to try to tag the other player as he tries to get away from him going through the streets and alleys. If you don't have enough players, usually you need like about 9 players to set up a pretty good streets and alleys field. Use parents, use assistant coaches, okay? And in the middle of the drill, sometimes what I do is I'll yell switch. So you got to make sure each of these players has a ball. And when I yell switch, they reverse and one other player chases the other player. Kids love this game. It has a baseball concept in it. It doesn't go that fast because you want to give the kids a chance. And you want to make sure if the kids did not get a turn in this game, write down their name and just say to them, Johnny, Phil, Mary, and Ed, we're going to play this game again. You're going to go first. We just don't have time. Okay, so that's baseball, streets, and alleys. Try to sandwich it in between 2 skill drills. All right, I want to give a at-home tip on this one. It's a one-on-one drill or concept you could do at home. And I call it the plastic bag reaction drill. Very easy drill. Kids like it. I tried it with tissues. It actually works better with a plastic bag, which are hard to come by. This is a garbage bag. And you want to kind of spread it out because what you're gonna do is you're gonna drop it. You're gonna hold it up high, all right? And then you're gonna drop it, and your son and daughter has to catch it. You do that a couple of times, and then you hold it up high. And this time you tell your son and daughter, when you drop it, to clap, then catch it. Okay? And the last thing you could try is you could have your son and daughter close their eyes. And when you drop it, you yell open, and they have to open their eyes, and they have to try to find where the plastic bag is. Okay? So, let me just. Sorry about that. My phone went off in the middle of this. But anyway, back to this drill. It's a good reaction drill. And the concept I want you to recognize, it's very important. When you use something like this and you're dropping it, keep in mind that this is a non-threatening item. Okay? And remember when I opened it up and I said the 2 fears that young kids, T-ball kids have is the fear of being embarrassed and the fear of getting hurt. When you are able to be creative and use non-threatening items for little at-home drills or on the field, it goes a long way with kids. I've seen T-ball coaches start out on the first practice, having their team have a catch with a hard ball. Kids, and I've told the story before, I've known of 2 kids that one got hit in the head, one got hit right below the eye. They never went on a baseball field again. And our job really is to get the players, our number one goal is to have the players come back for the next year. And we want them to continue playing baseball or softball. So that's an at-home drill, okay? You can use a balloon too. All right, the next drill is, and a lot of these drills, you could have multiple stations, either the same or, different drills. This is the stay low drill. And what I do is I have a rope going out and a coach will hold it and another coach will throw a ground ball and the player has to really try to field the ball as he's moving forward, going under the rope. Okay? In this drill, the coach that's holding the rope, you got to make sure you're holding it with cotton gloves, because if the player hits the rope and it goes through your hands, you're not wearing gloves, you get a rope burn. What I'm trying to do in this drill is I'm trying to get the players to get down lower to field the ball. All right. We want to get kids in the habit of getting lower and moving their feet. What happens a lot of times with players in baseball and softball, when they get older, they'll reach for the ball with their gloved hand. We want them to move their feet. We want to have drills where kids move their feet. These are the good habits we want to get these kids into. All right. So this is the stay low drill. Easy to set up. And remember, you may be tempted to add throwing in this. Don't do it. Remember, you want to separate skills. You could have 2 or 3 of these if you have enough coaches around the field. Okay. Again, it's the stay low drill. I hope you see it. I'll hold it back. There you go. All right. The next drill, you could do at home too. Kids love this drill. I call it King Arthur. And what you're doing is you're taking a pole, and I like to use it's a 1 3/8" closet pole. And the kids hold it, and you throw plastic balls, and they have to try to hit it on the outside. It's a great reaction drill. It's a great eye-hand coordination drill, and kids love it. You could use pickle balls, which are plastic balls. You could use wiffle balls. You could use rolled up old socks if you want. Okay? It's a fun game, and you could do it at home. You could do it in the inner city, anywhere you want. All right. So then after that, you want to make sure you scrimmage. And as I've said before, at first I like to do 2 separate scrimmages. If there's 12 players in a team, I like to go 6 in one scrimmage and 6 in the other. And I fill out the field with parents. Where it says TB, that's T-ball. Okay, we do this. Try to give each player an at-bat. Okay, we go through the order. You could do like 1 inning. And then it's always a good idea to get the players together for a scrimmage as a team. And again, depending on the amount of players you have, TB means T-ball, P means parents. Okay, remember, safety is the biggest issue in any team sport. Okay, and that's it. And that practice could run anywhere from like 40 minutes to an hour. I highly recommend you don't go over an hour. And I want to give you an advanced tip, but before I do, I just want to mention also, this is T-ball practice template number 8. If you go down in the Schupak Sports, you could find the other sample practices. If you watch enough of these, you'll see that some of the drills will be repeated, but every single template is going to have a new drill. I can promise you that. And you'll be set up, if you watch all these practice templates for the whole season, to have a very, very stimulating practice for your team throughout. I want to mention a advanced drill. A lot of you coaches and parents are going to go on to coach baseball and softball. I just want to mention to you that, and I've said it before, a lot of times, a lot of coaches don't pay enough attention to base running. I started practicing base running when I saw one year my team wasn't that talented. And I said, you know what? If I focus on base running, this team will be competitive. And I was shocked by the end of the year, because I practiced base running every single practice, we ended up going to the championship game, which we didn't win. It was kind of more luck than anything else. But practice base running. If you're competitive, this I can tell you, the other coaches aren't going to practice base running if you do, or they won't practice it as much. There are plenty of resources. One hint I'll give you, when kids round the bases, I practice kids going from home around the bases back to home, first, second, third, all year. Not every practice, but all year. If you do this enough, kids will learn the most efficient way of running around the bases. And of course, it's in a straight line. And a lot of coaches will tell you at first base that you have to step on it with a particular foot. The hint I'm going to give you, don't do that. Just tell them to hit the inside of the bag. Don't worry about which foot it is. Don't want them overthinking. Okay. All right. I'm going to get back to the trivia question. As far as the YouTube channel, please subscribe. Please let your league know about the channel and your T-ball commissioners and the other parents. It'll help me out. The more subscribers I have, the more I could do this format, free format. Okay, as far as products, just so you know, this particular practice was taken from this T-ball drills book, which I highly recommend. That you have like 110 T-ball drills, more than enough. Another product, this is actually takes off every year. It's T-ball skills and drills. It doesn't have as many drills as the T-ball drills book, but it has a lot of different concepts and coaching concepts, and a lot of pictures on the drills. True pictures too, not artist-induced pictures. So I highly recommend these two. Back to the trivia question is old-time Dodger manager Walter Austin, coached for years. How many years did he manage the team? And I gave choices of 15, 18, 23, and 25. Well, the answer is Walter Austin managed the Brooklyn Dodgers and then the Los Angeles Dodgers for 23 years. What I found very interesting, and I remember when he was manager, he had 23 one-year contracts, and that's how he approached managing. He won the World Series 4 times, 1955, 1959, 1963, and 1965. Interestingly, 1955 was the big one in Brooklyn because every year they were losing to the Yankees. And then he won the other 3 in Los Angeles. So for Schupak Sports, please subscribe, and T-Ball America. This has been Marty Schupak. Until next time.